Welcome everyone, my name is Gayle and today is day 4 of our 7-day Good Morning Yoga journey. So we're halfway through. I hope if you've been with me the whole time, the first 3 days, I hope that you're feeling really good and learning a lot and enjoying yourself. Today is going to be about the hips. So the hips are one of the largest joints in our body and the second most mobile joint after our shoulders. Our hips are really important. They help us to walk, run, sit, stand, jump, do most sports involve using our hips. And sometimes we end up sitting too much. And when we sit too much, like our hips get kind of stiff and maybe a little weak, and we don't have the support that we need for doing the things that we love. So today we're going to work on exploring our hips and building a little strength and resilience, as well as just giving them time to open and relax. So let's start on our backs. And notice when you first lie down, keep your knees bent and notice if there's how much of an arch there is in your back. So some people might end up with a pretty big space where you could easily put your whole hand under your back, and some people might lie completely flat. But what I want to play with here to start is the rotation of the pelvis, so the pelvic tilt. So when we arch our back and the front hip bones kind of go up and forward, that's an anterior tilt, and we have like a lot of space underneath our back. And then when we posteriorly tilt, we flatten our back and the front hip bones are going down towards our back body. So what I want you to do is just move very slowly, moving just your hips. Of course, it's impossible to move just one part of your body because we're all connected through the fascia and through our muscles and tendons and ligaments. But instead of doing big movements, just think of making it subtle so you can feel your back press against the ground and you can feel a little bit of space. So it's just a tiny movement, but this can make a big difference in how we feel when we're standing or sitting or even lying down. So I just want you to take a few moments to get used to this feeling of tilting the hips back and forth. Just a little bit of tilt, but the floor gives you a lot of feedback. And now see if you can come to what feels like kind of a neutral position where you can just relax. Place your hands on your belly. And as you inhale, feel the breath filling up inside you, pressing your back into the floor, lifting your front ribs away from the floor, and even getting a sensation of filling out through the side body. So when we breathe, we really want to feel like a 360-degree fullness. Not just up and down vertically, or not just side to side or front to back, but want to feel that full volume of air. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And see how much you can soften your breath. So there's no strain on your vocal cords, but you can just feel relaxed. And when you breathe in this way, your whole body will start to relax. So even when we're putting out a lot of effort, we want to still have some kind of feeling of relaxation, whether it's in our neck or our eyes or our mouth. And sometimes we exert too much tension and the breath, it slows down the breath, it kind of inhibits the breath, and we want to be free moving with the breath. So now, let's come onto our hands and knees in tabletop. So spread your fingers. Remember how we talked about pressing the pads of the fingers into the floor? And you can even think of hugging your arms in towards each other or pressing them apart, just to engage your arms. And now see if you can feel that little pelvic tilt. So we're not moving the whole body, but just trying to more or less isolate the pelvis. Just little simple, minor movements back and forth. So that you gain a greater awareness of the pelvis, of the tilting of the hips. And now let's add on. Let's do full cat-cow. So as you inhale, lift your tailbone way up. Feel your middle back move downward. Your shoulders move back. Your heart move forward. And as you exhale, push into the floor. Really let your back round as you release your neck. And just glide back and forth. Playing with the mobility of your spine and feeling that pelvic tilt moving back and forth. So now we're just going to start with a pelvic tilt. We'll start to lift the pelvis into an anterior tilt and see if you can kind of glide forward into your cow, sorry. And then tilt the pelvis down and see if you can round up into your cat. So the movement is being generated by the action of the pelvis, by the tilt of the pelvis. And just want you to feel a ripple effect through your spine. Really think of how we have all these individual vertebrae that are connected with the fascia, but because there's, we have so many vertebrae, I think we have 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, and then 5 fused vertebrae, that's our sacrum, and I think it's like 3 vertebrae, or maybe it's 5 again, of our tailbone. So that's a lot of different segmented parts, which means they can all move somewhat independently of each other. Good. Now just find a neutral position with your pelvis, so not sagging and not rounding. And we're going to do some hip rotations to really feel the femur bone rotating in the hip socket. It's a ball and socket joint. So gently pull your left knee up towards the top of your arm and open your leg out to the side. Bring your knee behind you. Lift your foot up, so that's like an internal rotation. Continue internally rotating and tap your knee to the outside of the opposite knee. And pull your knee up. And lower down, open out to the side. Bring your leg behind you, lift the foot up, cross the knees, hug it forward. Lower it down, we'll start again, out to the side, back behind you, lift the foot so you're internally rotating. Keep internally rotating, move your knee across, and pull your knee up. Lower down, we'll do that one more time. So out to the side, keep your knee high, your foot high as you bring your knee behind you. Internally rotate to lift your foot. Continue internally rotating so you can cross your knees and then pull up and lower down. We'll do the same thing with the other side. So start by pulling your knee up towards your armpit and lower your knee toward the floor. Open your knee out to the side, keeping the foot and the knee lifted. Bring your knee behind you and internally rotate to lift the foot. Try not to drop. I just noticed I was kind of dropping, so try and stay lifted here. Cross your knees and then pull it up, out to the side, back behind you. Lift your foot up, cross your knees, and hug it forward. Lower it down, out to the side, knee behind you. Lift your foot, internally rotate a little bit more, cross. We'll do one more round. So hug it in, round up. Come back to neutral, open out to the side. Try and keep your belly lifted as you reach your leg behind you. And internally rotate, bringing your foot up and cross your knees behind you and come back into your tabletop. And just take a moment to kind of wag your hips from side to side. Now come back to a neutral spine and hover your left knee off the floor. Open your knee out to the side. Now the goal here is not to drop the knee. So it's not big movements, it's just little pulses up. And and just with these little pulses, you should start to feel it actually in both glutes. Like you'll feel in the leg that you're pulsing, but you'll also feel it in the supporting leg, most likely. And we'll just do a couple more of these because we're trying to build some strength as well as awareness here. Good. Lower your knee down, and let's do the same thing with the other side. So first, hover your knee. Lift your knee and your foot up to about hip height, and trying to keep the knee and the foot at the same level, and little pulses up. So try not to go below where we started. And notice, I mean, it's really important to have strong glutes. They support our whole back. I'm getting pretty tired now. Just let's keep going a little bit more if you can. You can always stop if you can't. There's no shame in stopping. Matter of fact, that shows you're listening to your body. Good. Lower your knee down. And feel, just like, let's give our glutes a little gentle massage, feeling that energy that's been cultivated there. Now, it could be nice for this next part that we're doing to have a block or a pillow or something that you can kind of raise, allow yourself to be raised up off the floor. So step your left foot forward into a low lunge, lift and spread your toes, and reach your arms up, reach your heart up. And lower your hands back down and on the inside of your foot, and then stretch your left knee forward, trying to keep your heel down. And shift back, pulling the front of your foot up. And then come down, shift forward. So the further away your heel is from your knee, the more stretch you'll get in your back hip flexor. So I brought my foot a little bit further forward. So stretch forward, feeling a stretch on the back hip flexor, maybe a nice, working on the flexation of the ankle. And then glide back. You can lift your foot up, the front of your foot up, and dig your heel down. And just slowly glide back and forth at your own pace. Remembering to breathe. Now come back to neutral, and here's where you might want a block. Bring your forearms to the block or a pillow or the floor, so you might not need a block. That'll make this stretch deeper, so deeper is not always better. And just glide forward and back, side to side, maybe in a circle. Really, we're exploring the inner thigh, way up by the groin. And just kind of moving and paying attention. And come back up onto your hands and start to externally rotate your hips so your knee goes out to the side. Bring your left hand about to the middle of your mat, and then internally rotate a little bit so your knee comes to your shoulder. And just roll back and forth, letting your foot roll. So you're rolling to the outside edge of your foot, and then to the inside edge of your foot, just back and forth. Good, and let's come up into our lunge again. Reach your arms up, lift your chest up, lift your heart up, and bring your hands back down. Step back into tabletop. It's always a good idea to notice how you feel after doing something. Usually you'll feel a shift happening right away. So bring your right foot forward. Rise up into your crescent lunge. And bring your hands down to the inside of your front foot. Maybe step your foot a little more forward and bend your knee forward, getting a stretch on the back hip flexor, and then stretch your hips back, lifting the front of your foot up. Just glide forward and back, nice and slow. It's more about being aware of the sensations and having a deeper understanding of what's going on in our body and which parts of our body maybe need a little more attention. And maybe how doing something like this can affect your shoulders. It might affect a part of your body that you wouldn't necessarily expect it to. Let's bring our forearms to the floor or a block. And again, just kind of move around, exploring.
And little different things that you do can make a big difference. For example, you could think of pressing your big toe mound into the ground, activating your legs. Feel the difference of moving your hips in a circle versus back and forth or side to side. And let's come back up on our hands. Bring your right hand in toward the center of your mat, or maybe even a little bit to the left. And then externally rotate so your knee moves out, and internally rotate a little bit so the knee comes in. You can glide onto the outside edge of your foot, and back to the inside edge, just gliding from edge to edge. I'd come back to center, maybe bring your foot in a little bit. Come back up into your crescent lunge, open up through your heart. Then bring your hands back down, frame your foot, lift your back knee up and step back into downward facing dog. And in your down dog, just do those little pelvic tilts. Little lift, little tuck, back and forth. And notice how your down dog feels different depending on if you've got a big arch in your back, big rounding of the back. And I like to go for something a little more neutral. But it could be a little bit different for each person depending on what your habits are. And come up onto your tiptoes and walk your feet forward. Bring your feet a little wider than hip distance. We're going to come into a squat. So whatever is most comfortable for you. Some people like their feet wider or turned out. And put weight in your heels and slowly lower your hips. Now, you might not get the weight. You might kind of be hovering here. You can always place a block underneath if you need that for now. But think of stretching your arms forward, letting your neck relax, letting your neck kind of just hang down. And lower your hips all the way to the floor. You can bring your hands behind your back and cross your right ankle above your left knee. We call this a figure 4 position. And just begin to kind of rock from side to side. Notice the closer you bring your chest to your leg, the deeper of a hip stretch you'll get on the outside of the hip. So a lot of times I like to come in and out, not trying to force anything too much, but at the same time, just being curious. Well, how does it feel here? Well, how far can I go? And then where's my edge? And back off a little bit. So this is something you could do at your desk, sitting in a chair. You could cross your ankle above your knee so your knees are apart from each other and kind of lean forward into your desk. So there are many times that you could just incorporate this pretty easily into your day if you just remember to think about it. Uncross your right ankle, cross the left ankle over the right knee, and same thing. Notice the closer you get, the closer your thigh is to your ribs, your chest is to your leg, the deeper the stretch will be. And this is true whether we're in a forward fold or we're lying down and we're bringing our chest closer to our leg, if like in pigeon pose. Another hip opening pose. So just know that if you can kind of lessen the space between your leg and your chest, it's going to give you a little bit of a deeper stretch, which is not necessarily what we always want, but just to know that it's available. Then uncross your legs, come back into a squat. Stretch your hands, spread out the fingers, and step back into plank. And even here, notice if you tilt your tailbone up, what that feels like. Not so good to me. And if you tuck the tailbone way under, what does that feel like? Can you find something in between or have a reason for what you're doing so you're doing it mindfully rather than mindlessly? Then bend your knees, stretch your hips back into your down dog. And then we're going to start at the tailbone and kind of ripple forward. And start at the tailbone and round back. So just kind of going from down dog into plank. And from plank back to down dog. And then you can kind of speed it up. You can round forward and arch back. And just see if you can feel your spine doing this kind of slinky motion. Walk your feet forward to your hands. Lift and spread all 10 toes. Keeping the toes spread, lower them down. Press strongly into the earth and rise all the way up to stand. And bring your hands together in front of your heart. So we're going to go from crescent lunge to warrior two, and just notice how our hips rotate differently. Now step your left foot back into your crescent lunge. Reach your arms up. And then maybe we'll just like bend one knee, tap it to the floor, lift up, lower and tap. Just 5 times. That's 3, 4, 5. Come back up, and now externally rotate this back leg to open your leg up, coming into warrior two. So we want to be kind of balancing our internal and external rotation. So instead of letting the knee cave in of the front leg, you can externally rotate that front leg, activating your glute, just like we did in those little lifts. And then press into this back leg, soften at the hip crease. Reach out through your fingertips. And then reach up and back. Reverse your warrior. Come back through warrior two. Lift the back heel up, coming back into crescent lunge. And step forward, Tadasana. Close your eyes and just notice the difference between your two legs, just from that little 2 poses that we did. Step your right leg back into crescent lunge, so your heel is lifted, and then bend, lower the knee down, lift up. 5 times, so that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to externally rotate the back leg, open up warrior two. And take a moment to adjust your stance, adjust the weight between your feet. Reach out through your fingertips, and then reach up and back. Reverse your warrior, come back through warrior two. Swing the back arm forward as you lift the back heel up. And step forward into your Tadasana. We'll come back into a squat. And right away, just lower your hips to the floor. Bring your feet forward a little bit. And slowly roll down onto your back. Maybe, I don't know if you heard a little crack in your back like I did. And just take a moment to just let your back settle into the earth. Straighten your left leg on the floor, float your right leg up. Interlace your fingers on the back of your right leg, and then press up to your heel. Press your leg into your hands, resist with your hands, and then just relax. And notice where your leg ends up. And stretch up through your heel again, press your leg into your hands to activate your leg muscles, and relax. Last one. Press your heel up. Push your leg into your hands, resist, and relax. Now shift your hips a little bit to the right. Take your left hand to the outside of either your right foot or anywhere along your leg. And we're going to just slowly bring that right leg all the way across to the left. The idea is try and do it controlled so you don't just plop and drop over. But just do it nice and slowly, lowering your foot all the way to the floor. Let the whole inside edge of your foot lie on the floor. And notice your right shoulder. It might not feel like it's touching the ground. Like mine doesn't feel like it's touching the ground right now. There's a little bit of space.
So now just see if you can relax. And instead of trying to press that shoulder into the floor, think of letting it slowly relax on its own. One breath at a time. And feel the twist around your waist and the shoulders broadening away from each other. Getting a nice stretch across the back of your glutes, your hips up into the low back, maybe even up into the mid back, even up into your shoulder, even if you barely notice it. And give your body time to relax, to just settle in. And we'll stay here for a couple more breaths, just getting used to this. Now think of pulling your right hip back to the earth to float your right leg up. Bring both hands to your right leg and pull down on the pinky toe side of your foot, so pull that down towards the earth as you press up through the big toe mound side. And release your foot and let it slowly float down. And once your heels touch the earth, just relax for a moment. Again, noticing how you feel. And we'll do the same thing with the other leg. So bring the left leg up. Interlace your fingers on the back of your left leg. Press up through your heel. Push your leg into your hands as you resist with your hands. And then relax. And again, press up through your heel, press into your hands, resist with your hands, and relax. And notice if your leg starts getting a little closer each time to your chest. It might happen, it might not happen, but that's what's happening for me. So one more time, press out through your heel, push into your hands, and relax. And release your hands, maybe shift your hips to the left a little bit. Take your right hand to the outside of your left foot or your ankle or your calf. Doesn't really matter which part of your leg you can grab. Just hold on, lower your leg across your body. And now notice your left shoulder. Is there a little space between your shoulder and the floor? And all you do now is just breathe and be aware. You could even think of breathing into your left shoulder and visualize it relaxing, letting go, feeling safe, feeling content with what you're feeling in the moment. And just allowing yourself to surrender. We'll stay here a few more breaths. Breathing nice and slow and even through your nose. And now let's pull this left hip back to the earth to float the left leg up. Hold your foot with both hands, pulling the pinky toe side of your foot towards the ground and pressing up through the big toe mound. And release your leg. Release your arms to the floor and slowly let your leg float down. Nice and slow, enjoying the journey. And notice when your heel touches the ground, how good it feels, how your whole body might just feel this wave of relaxation flushing over you. And hug your knees into your chest. So we always want to remember to give ourselves some love and hugs, and just give yourself a little squeeze. And release your arms out to the side. Stretch your legs away from your shoulders. Just let your feet flap open. Let your fingers feel relaxed. And fill up with the breath, feeling that movement within the stillness. Giving yourself permission to surrender, to relax, and to enjoy this savasana. So I'm going to stay here with you for about 10 breaths, and you're welcome to stay longer if you would like, or you can get up with me after about 10 breaths. So everyone's breath length might be a little bit different, but I'm just going to breathe slowly with a feeling of peacefulness. Begin to slowly bring a little movement into your body. And maybe if you like, gently, slowly turn your head from side to side. And bend your knees, gently roll to your side. And just pause for a moment, just to remind yourself to slow down and notice the changes. And slowly roll and press your way back to a comfortable seat. And close your eyes. Feel your breath moving in and out, softly and slowly. Feeling your rib cage fill up with the breath, and then relax back. Please bring your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. And thank you so much for joining me for day 4, the middle of our 7-day Good Morning Yoga journey. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you tell your friends and come back to this practice as often as you like. Namaste. See you tomorrow. Sign up for my email list with the link in the description below for special events and inspiration for healthy living. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.